Speak Easy Studios. Speak and be heard.
What effect does stress have on your life? How does it affect your relationships? What about your business? My name is Lynn of It's Why, and my clients call me the identity coach because they discover how to take back control of who they want to be and how they react to stress. This message needed to get out to a larger group of people, so I created a group that helps people identify and manage the stress they never realized they had. We're going to explore questions that challenge you to find your inner power that got buried so deep within because of that stress, and take back control of the situations that cause that stress in your daily life. A small change can make the biggest difference. You make the difference. Welcome back to this week's episode of IPP Thursday. And I know that we normally have these relatively quick episodes. This one will be a little longer, so I'm just going to let you know in advance. This should be some interesting content for you today. This is from an article that was posted on Forbes.com in August of 2020 by contributor Chuck Swoboda. And he talks about best practices. So what are best practices? It's meant to represent conventional wisdom, the things that you kind of know will work, right? The example that he presents in regards to a contradiction of best practices is Southwest Airlines. In the article, he says that Southwest Airlines recently disclosed in an investor update that it would turn down $2.8 billion in federal CARES Act funds. The company will instead focus on finding its own financing during what has been one of the most challenging times in the history of U.S. aviation due to COVID-19 travel concerns. As the other major airlines continue to rely on government funding to support them during the crisis, Southwest will go their own way. But this is nothing new for the company that is built on a strategy of purposely ignoring best practices. And it's this approach that has enabled Southwest to deliver 47 consecutive years of profitability in an industry that is better known for annual losses. Wow. So he also goes on to say the late Herb Kelleher, Southwest co-founder and longtime CEO, once said, "We've never tried to be like other airlines. From the very beginning, we told our people, question it, challenge it." So when you think about what you're doing in your business, whether you own your business or you're working for someone else in their business and fulfilling their business mission, how often do you find yourself questioning it and challenging it? So he says, remember, decades of conventional wisdom has sometimes led the airline industry into huge losses. So Mr. Swoboda's next suggestion is to challenge your current habits. Ask yourself, how can we do this better? Have you ever asked yourself, how can I do this better? This may not be the way that it really should be done, even though it's been done this way for a long time. So Swoboda says a better way is to start with the unconventional. Challenge workplace expectations like meetings as best practice. He says Jason Fried, the founder and CEO of Basecamp, offered this perspective. Meetings are just toxic, terrible, poisonous things during the day at work. We all know this to be true. Meetings aren't work. Meetings are places to go to talk about things you're supposed to be doing later. Powerful quote, huh? So Swoboda continues with recommending that you challenge your approach to customers. As Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, who was once famous for never leaving well enough alone. And I actually really resonated with this. He once said, if everybody else is doing it one way, there's a good chance you can find your niche by going in exactly the opposite direction. But be prepared for a lot of folks to wave you down and tell you you're headed the wrong way. And I can tell you, I experienced this when I first launched Inner Power Partners, because I did dare to do everything in an unconventional way. To stand out from others who do what you do, challenge best practices. I did. You can too. So, what do best practices represent to you? Consider how you perceive workplace meetings. I've shared a lot out of Chuck Swoboda's article, and I'm curious how it's affected you. So, how does hearing these different quotes and suggestions spark any ideas for you? I can't imagine that a lot of thoughts haven't come up in your mind. Consider how looking at the unconventional impact these new ways of looking at things can have on your level of success and daily well-being. What would you want that to look like? A lot of powerful things that I shared with you out of this article today. Obviously, some things that have been successfully proven by certain organizations. What could this mean for you? What new unconventional best practice might you want to put into place? A lot of great thoughts. I'd like to ask you that if you have any thoughts to add to anything that I've shared with you today, please post it under this podcast, because you make a difference and your thoughts matter. And we want to hear what you have to say. And so do our listeners. Thank you so much for coming back this week. And we'll see you next week for another episode of IPP Thursday.